The weight of betrayal sat heavy in your chest as you stared at the marriage certificate in your trembling hand. Your father's make was still burned into your mind, his final word before leaving you here innocuously. It's done. You are his responsibility now. You had known your stepfather was selfish, but this tricking you into is a marriage with a man you had never met. One humor to be different. It was beyond cruel. Your gaze lifted hesitantly to the man sitting across from you. He was beautiful, almost ashen, deep brown eyes shimmer under the soft glow of the candle. But as you watched him, something felt off. He was humming to himself, finger tracing pattern on the table, his expression lost in childlike. He stared at the flicker candle between you. This is my husband, you thought in disbelief. When he finally looked at you, his lips curled into an innocent smile. Do you like strawberry? He asked suddenly, his voice filled with a genuine curiosity. You blinked, your stomach twisting. What? Strawberries, he repeated, leaning forward early. They are sweet but sometimes sour if you don't pick the right one. I like the sweet ones. Your throat went dry. This was the man you were married to, trapped in a life you hasn't noticed, with a husband who spoke like a child. Your heart pounded at the reality of your situation, settle in. How were you supposed to survive in this marriage? The silence in the guard bedroom was suffocating. You stood near the door, arm across tightly over your chest while the young sat on the edge of massive bed, swinging his feet silently. His expression was unbreakable, eyes fixed on his hand as if demanding something important. You can't You can sleep on bed, he finally said, voice soft. I don't take much space, you found. I can sleep on couch. His head snapped up. But you are my wife. The word sent a shiver down your spine. It wasn't real. It could be. You hasn't choose this. Then lifted his head, studying you with an innocent curiosity that made your chest tighten. I don't bite, he added playfully. Promise you signed, rubbing your temple. That's not the issue. He blinked, then suddenly, you said my name. Your breath hitched. The way he said it meant something, made you pause. He was looking at you with something warm in his gaze, something you didn't understand yet. You shallow hard. Good night. Instead of asking, he flopped back into the bed with a constant sign, closing his eyes like a child who had just won a small victory. You turn away, heart humming as you settle on the couch, pulling a blanket over yourself. This marriage was a mistake, so why did the sound of steady breathing make you feel standing at peace? The morning sun filled through a curtain, casting golden streak across the bedroom. You shifted, breathed the blanket stay cozy until a faint humming reached your ear. You turn your head, then sat and cross-legged on the bed, fully awake, his finger tracing pattern on the sheet. His hair was a messy, sticking up in the cold place, but his face was calm, almost peaceful. He was humming a tune you didn't recognize, lost in his world. You sat up, rubbing your eyes. You are early. He winked at you. I don't like sleeping in. Morning are nice. You study him. There was something dismaying about the way he spoke. So simple yet sincere. He wasn't guarded like most people. He just himself, but you still don't know who was. I made coffee, he announced suddenly, pointing toward the nightstand. Your gaze flickered at the steaming mug. Hesitantly, you picked it up, half expecting it to be too sweet or too bitter, but the first sip surprised you. It was perfect. Your eyes darted back to the young, but he was watching you with unreliable expression as if waiting for something. You made this, you asked. He nodded, a smile justified smile tugging at his lips. You open your mouth to respond, but the knock at the door interrupted you. Mr. Kim, Mrs. Kim, a voice called from outside. Breakfast is ready. Your stomach twisted at the title, Mrs. You wasn't used to it. You wasn't sure you watched it to be it. The young hopped off the bed. Let's eat. He grabbed your vest before you could process, tugging you toward the door with a surprise strength as the finger color around your warmth spread through your skin. Unexpected, unwelcome, and impossible to ignore. The dining hall was larger than necessary. It's a high ceiling and expensive challenger, making you feel even more out of the place. The long table was filled with dishes, fresh fruit, egg toast, as extra of the thing you usually wouldn't touch this early in the morning, but your appetite was knocked. Then on the other side, Sming, he sat beside you, happily munching a strawberry, his lips stained in the faint red. These are the sweet ones, he mused, holding up a particularly plump berry before popping into his mouth. You watched him, unsure of what to say. He ate like a child, completely embraced his food, yet there was an glance in the way he moved. Test could practice the concentration unsettle you. Eat, he said suddenly, glaring at your untouched plate. I am not hungry, you admit. He's profound. That's not good. Before you could respond, he picked up a piece of toast, spreading thin layer of jam over it and turned it to you. His expression was expect patient, you hasn't. Should you take it? Was this just another one of his innocent gesture, or was there something deeper behind the way he watching you, turning little his head, waiting with a sign? You took the toast from his hand and took a small bite. The sweetness of the jam lingering on your tongue justified his smile. For some reason, that smile made your chest feel tight. You hated how easy it was for him to make you drop your guard. See, he said, leaning closer, not so bad. You swallow hard, forcing yourself to look away. This marriage was supposed to be a mistake, so why did he make it feel suchly safe? Time escape. The rest of day passed in a blur. Servant moved in and out of the house, whispering greeting as you wandered smazily through the guard hallway. Throwing had disappeared. Thing had disappeared somewhere after breakfast, leaving you alone in the unfamiliar place. You should have been revealed, but instead of uneasy feeling settled in your chest. You didn't understand him. He was kind, too kind in a way, felt. almost naive, but something about him didn't add up. He was a child, yet there were moments when his gaze turned sharp, as if he was seeing something you couldn't. It doesn't make sense. Your thoughts were interrupted when you heard some voice coming from garden. Curious, you stepped into the balcony, peering down. Then stood under the shade of tree, his back at you, but the way he stood, tall, poised, completely different from the carefree man you had seen at breakfast, made your breath hitch. He wasn't alone. Older man stood beside him, speaking in hushed tone. You strained to hear, but the wind carried their word away. Then Deng suddenly spoke, his voice calm yet firm. Tell me I want already less. You want that didn't sound like the man who had fed you toast this morning. The older man nodded and walked away, leaving them standing there, his shoulder tense. He lifted a hand and ran his through his hair, exhaling slowly, almost in shaking of her marks. And then, just then, he turned back toward the house. His face shifted back into the familiar, innocent expression. You stepped away from the balcony before he could see, your heart pounding. Who was he really? And why did you suddenly feel like you were the one who didn't understand the rule of this marriage? You are staring, he suddenly said, looking up. You shifted. No, I'm not. His lips curled into a knowing smile. Liar. You swallow hard. His tone was playful, lingering, but sometime about it sent a chill down his spine. It was the first time he had called you out of something. You cleared your throat. Where you today? He tattled his head. Did you miss me? That's not what I asked. Tim rested his chin on his palm, watching you with assumed curiosity. I went for a walk. The garden nice, don't you think? Your finger curled up into your lap. He was lying, or at least not telling the truth. You hesitated, debating whether to push him further. Then, as if seeing your inner conflict, Tim set his spoon down and leaned forward, his voice soft. Why are you so tensed? You froze. I am not, you said quickly. He hummed, unconvinced. Are you scared of me? The question hit you harder than expected. Were you? You wasn't sure. He hadn't hurt you. He hadn't raised his voice, had forced you into anything. If anything, he had been considered. And yet something about him unnerved you. Not in the way your stepfather had, not in the way a cruel man, but in the way something unknown always did. No, you said at last, I am not scared of you. For the first time since you had met him, his expression turned unbelievable. For some reason you couldn't shake it, feeling that he knew where lying. The night air was crisp as you stepped onto the balcony, wrapping your arms around yourself. The mansion was early quiet, save for your faint rustling leaf and the distant hum garlands. You needed the space to breathe and think, piece together the concentration that where thing wasn't what you expected. At the time he was innocent as a child, filled the wonder, the simplest thing, and yet moment like a earlier when he had seen you, when his voice has carried some. Who was the real Your thoughts were interrupted by the sound of footsteps. You turned. Taehyung stood in the bar doorway, his saluted humility at the warm glow of the bedroom. His gaze shifted immediately. You can't sleep, his voice soft, carrying over the night breeze. You hesitated, shook your head, just needed some air. He stepped closer, head tucked into the pocket of his robe. Are you uncomfortable here? The question felt loaded. You extended slowly. This wasn't what I wanted. Taehyung was quiet for a moment, then he spoke carefully. You blame me for that. Your chest tightened. Did you? You wanted to pin all your anger resentments on him to make him the villain of this story, but you couldn't. He hadn't choose this marriage either. No, you admit. I blame my stepfather. A flicker, something passed through the eyes, staying sharp. Then, just as quickly it was gone. I see he smiled, but he didn't quite research his eyes. Then I supposed to be we both just playing the role. Give us the way he said it is so recognized. So where sent a shiver down your spine, and for the first time you wonder why they he trapped in this marriage too. The air between you two, the young was heavy and unspoken word. Neither you moved, standing under the dimmed glow of the balcony light. His gaze lingered on you too deep and readable. For the first time, you felt the full weight of his presence, not like a child in man, not a stranger, but the someone real. A gust of the wind passed, shivered, chilled down your spine without thinking you shivered. Thing noticed before you could step away, he reached for you, warm finger brushed against your breast. He gently tugged you forward, closing the space between you. He roped, gently opened the collar. His the scent of fresh linen, something faintly sweet wrapping around you. You are cold, he mumbled. You should have pulled back, should have taken a step away, but something about the way he was looking at you, soft, hesitated, different, rolled in your place. Then, without a word, he struck off his robe and wrapped it over your shoulder. Your breath catch. The fabric was warm, carrying the lingering heat of his skin. The gesture was simple yet intimidating in the way you wasn't prepared for the handling it just second later before he let go. His finger was warm, stepping back, give you space, the weight of his warm there. He said, better you swallow hard, finger curled around inch of the robe. Yeah. A small smile played on his lips, something almost unfreaked his gaze, but you didn't say anything. Instead, he turned away, heading back inside with a slow, desperate step as you stood there, wrapping his warmth. Your heart thundered loudly near because the first time since the marriage began, you wasn't sure if you wanted to escape it. And sleep hadn't Sleep didn't come easily that night. Even after returning to bed, the warmth of the robe lingering against your skin, quite reminder of the moment had you shared. It wasn't grand or dramatic, it just unsettled something deep in with you. You wasn't supposed to be feel anything, yet here you are hyper aware of man sleeping just a few feet away. You turned into your side, peeking toward his bed. He was lying on his back, his eyes closed, but his breath wasn't deep enough to indicate sleep. He was awake too. Without thinking, you whispered again. Silence. Hmm. You hesitated. You didn't even know what you wanted to say. What did you give me your robe? Why are you something so different? Why are you Really, but none of the question left your mouth. Never mind, you murmured instead. For a moment, you thought he had it go, but then you think too much, he said softly. You breathed it, you turned toward him fully, but he didn't move. His eyes were still closed, his expression uneven in the dim light. What that's supposed to mean, you whispered. Then finally accepted, rolling into his bed. He was facing you, his gaze met yours, and in the quiet space between you, something inside air, something heavy, something unspoken. It's mean, he mumbled, voice deep, blessed with something unfamiliar. You don't always have to search for an answer. His voice sent a shiver down your spine, because for the first time he didn't sound like a playful childlike man you had married. It sounded like a voice of something who exactly what he was doing for a reason you couldn't understand. It terrified you more than anything.